Hey guys, and welcome to Love is Blind Super Panel. We are talking to you guys about the latest episode from episode 8 and 9. It's a crazy affair. Listen, we're going to talk about this and break it all the way down. It was a lot that was happening. We had Izzy with credit credit issues. Yeah, he should have known when he had HVAC for 20K. He should have known she's gonna put up your credit file. And then we also had a situation with Milton and Lydia. Milton will not let Lydia go without letting her know you are a little bit emotional. Okay, I mean he said it from episode 8 to episode 9. He gonna drag her through that. Then obviously as well, we also had whatchamacallit. Sorry. We also had we also had Uche and Aaliyah. I mean, they had a very small segment in episode 8. And yeah, we know what happened with that. If you've watched their interviews, you know I'll probably do a live on it tomorrow on her interview. So they're finished as well. And then we also had who's over Johnny and Chris as well in episode 9. A bit more episode 8 and 9. Stacey became a little bit of a mean girl. Johnny told Johnny to fix her face because wind blows and her face will stay the same. So she wanted to kind of save her from that particular troubles there. Uche let Miriam know it doesn't matter if we're Nigerian together. F around and find out because I'm a real man out here. You know what I mean? So that went down as well. So there's a lot that was happening in episode 8 and episode 9. A couple fights here and there. What I'm saying? Lydia had a fight with Uche, or at least argued with Uche, and then Milton told her, listen, I don't know why you stayed there twice. I would have been gone the first time. I mean, he ain't lying. What I'm saying? When the good Lord is hitting you in your face, telling you that you should walk away, Milton, you might want to take your own advice. You didn't realize you were preaching to the choir. But hey ho, we're gonna discuss it all on tonight's episodes today. So I'm joined by the super panelists. We're gonna try and keep it to an hour and a half, 2 max, because I know it's late. So we ain't going past 2 hours, okay? So guys, we're gonna get it in, we're gonna get it out, okay? I would say pause, but I don't think it's a necessity to, okay? All right, yeah, got to see where to laugh. That's it. Boom, I'm in the show mood. All right, listen, if you're new to the channel, do me a massive favor, like it, share, subscribe, click on that bell button for the notification of the uploads. All right, it's 4:30 in the morning in the UK, and according to Tia Mowry, she's in Europe. So before you ask her why she's up early in the morning, she's at a different time zone to the rest of y'all. Okay, anybody can get this smoke, and just like the show tonight, you can get a smoke too in the chat. So don't mess around too much. Okay, all right, that's what we like to hear. All right, cool. Let's get into the show. I don't want to waste much time, but we've got episodes 8 to 9. I don't know how we're going to actually do this because you know what? Although it was couples, a lot of things that were not necessarily couple-ish in there as well. So let's start first and foremost with episode 8, I guess. Let's start with the beef with Uche and Lydia. Let's start with that big one there because that was a big thing. And plus Milton. I mean, I don't know what the girls were thinking, trying to send Milton to try and save Lydia. And then obviously Uche then having a discussion with the ladies, telling them about he couldn't wait to snitch on Lydia and talk about how she was a stalker and how she did X, Y, and Z to the girls. And the girls were holding, true form, trying to, put girl power ahead of everything. And, they want to have a conversation. So I want to get you guys' thoughts on that particular scene. We want to hear your thoughts on this. What you guys think about episodes 8 and 9 and dealing with specifically Uche, Lydia, Milton situation. What's your thoughts? Seaway, start us off and bang, hit it hard, baby.
So Uche, Lydia, Milton. Okay, because I'm trying to get it all in order. So let's start with the Uche wanting to come in to talk to Lydia about pretty much his beeline for Lydia to have this whole conversation with Lydia. The problem with Uche is the fact that Uche is a walking contradiction. He told, Aaliyah at the table, even though we find out that they try to date off of the show or whatever. The problem with this season, there's way too much stuff happening off of the camera instead of in front of the camera. But he tells Lydia that, he tells Leah that nothing went down, that he doesn't have feelings for her and she didn't trust him. And, she should have trusted him because he was over the situation with Lydia and Lydia's a stalker. Lydia's this. and Aaliyah should have trusted him. But then the next scene in episode 8, he does this beeline for Lydia to like basically read her down like he's still bothered. And instead of saying like, hey, I'm with Aaliyah now, I'm interested in Aaliyah, he spent all his time trying to revise history and go back and forth. So for me, that whole confrontation was weird. And all it did was solidify that he's not over Lydia. And then he proceeds to try to sabotage her as we get on to Milton and sabotage the whole relationship. And this is where he gets real manipulative. He's trying to basically act like he's Milton's friend and try to convince Milton not to date Lydia. It doesn't work. And then he keeps on trying. And I just don't know what Uche's angle was, but it was very manipulating and it didn't work. So that's my overall thoughts. I know there's a lot happened in that scene, but they definitely act like two people who are still very much so drawn into each other, and I don't think that's a good sign for dating other people.
Appreciate that, Seaway. Also as well, isn't he was he not in a relationship with Lydia for more than almost 2 years on and off?
Yeah, he
I was
tried to
watching an
minimize
interview.
it. It was 2 years. It was a long time.
It's a very long time. I thought it was only a few months, but it was on and off for 2 years. That boy tripping. He
Yeah.
on some crud. Jay, talk to me.
Well, he tripping because he gives everybody a different story each time you talk to him. So there's that. Because one time it's only 3 weeks that they were together. Another time they broke up twice. I don't know how you break up twice in 3 weeks. That's crazy, And just 3 months prior to him revealing that they were a couple at some point, he slept with the girl. So he's a hypocrite. He comes in as a whole hypocrite. You're telling us that your biggest deal breaker is truthful and untrustworthy people. Well, you are yourself. You are that yourself, sir. Like, you're not trustworthy. You don't tell the truth when you need to. Admitting something like that, I kind of get if it's never asked. Me, don't ask, don't tell. But when you're having the audacity to actually shame a person about them telling their truth, then proceed to decide that, oh, let me open up about my truth, and then literally boldface and omit things, you're a problem. You're a whole problem in a situation. Then to come for Lydia about it when you're supposed to be moved on. None of her, she doesn't matter, this, that, and the third. She's a good girl, quote unquote, how you say it. Why be lying to her and try to disrupt whatever she got going on or rehash the past that was only 3 weeks long, according to you? There's nothing to talk about if we only had a relationship for 3 weeks. So I didn't get why he was trying to do that other than to try to break up her relationship with Milton, because he feels either that she disrupted the relationship with Lydia, not understanding you have a plan, Aaliyah, but you have a hand in that yourself. And on top of it, you don't want Lydia. So you say, but we know that's a lie, because in the pod you were telling Milton basically not to go for her. And then gonna sit in Milton's face and say, bro, did I want to badmouth her? Did I talk about her bad? Well, you was basically insinuating don't go for her. You shouldn't commit to her. You shouldn't propose to her in the pods. So that's saying something enough. But I commend Milton for sitting there, having a conversation with him, at least hearing him out, and letting him know, hey, everybody has their different perspectives on things. And so that was just yours. And I'm cool with her right now. So we're going to just ride out where we ride out. Lydia, sis, you got to control your temper, because no way that a person is going to piss me off, make me walk away, and I'm going to come back and sit down to walk away again. If you're not trying to have a real conversation with somebody and really get down to the truth and hear them out, then don't even come back and sit down. When they piss you off, just stay away. And that's what I got on the 3.
Thank you, Jay. Sean, Uche, Milton, Lydia, talk to me.
Yeah, I think the MVP goes to Milton for navigating that situation. still finding a way to hear Uche out without totally, you know, giving into what, you know, allowing him to tell him what to do. But he's like, listen, I'm gonna take the information because I think all intel is good intel. It's what you do with it, you know, and how you use it. So I thought that went to him. Uche and Lydia are two different sides of the same coin because they definitely both lie and manipulate. So it's very hard to tell who's telling the truth. It's like whose version of what is accurate is very, very difficult to read between it because one second they didn't have a full-fledged relationship, then they had a long relationship. It's just she was stalking him, she wasn't stalking him. It's just the waters are so muddy. But I think that Uche, you know, did himself a disservice by trying to go in and relitigate the situation and have this long-winded conversation and throw Lydia under the bus without throwing her under the bus because they obviously committed to doing the show once they got on and realized that they were both on, whether who knew first, but they had an agreement, right? So, and then he's going to try to come back and say she's not a good person. Meanwhile, you said the same thing. You said the opposite, rather, to Aaliyah, and you've been talking about how good she is. And now you want to convince him that she's a liar and a manipulator. So, which one is it? What's the truth? I don't think we know the truth, or he doesn't know the truth. Or he knows it and doesn't want us to know. But I just thought the whole thing was ridiculous that you want to go in there now and try to clear the air and talk about Lydia. We can see Lydia. I think certain people they're gonna undo themselves. You don't need to get involved. You don't need to put on a shield or save somebody, aka Milton, because Lydia will show her true colors and let him find out for himself and just going about your merry way. So those are my thoughts.
Good point, Sean. I appreciate it. Listen, I think I think Milton was quite composed. I love the fact that he didn't allow Lydia to try and manipulate him into, trying to play a certain role in a situation, and also didn't allow Uche to manipulate him into trying to make an immediate decision. Now, I do believe that, I'm a little bit scared for Milton and Lydia, but we'll talk about it later. But I love the way that Milton composed himself, right? Like he was in, he was out, he was out, he was out. Like at one point, I know Lydia was looking for him, try and find him to whatever she was trying to do. But I love the fact that he kept a reserved behavior about himself. I do think that obviously,
actually, when she was looking for him, he was in the bathroom having a panic attack. They said he was in the bathroom for like 30 minutes having a full-blown panic attack. I actually think it was Izzy or somebody that went in there and tried to like help him. But like he actually low-key was not okay. That whole situation was stressing him the F out, which I think colors my situation because I think Milton puts on like he's okay. But whole time he was looking like he was like the strong person for Lydia when he was breaking down.
But I also assuming that he had the panic attack during the time that she told him, "Let me talk to Uche" or whatever. Because the way he said goodbye in that moment,
yeah, it was quick.
Yeah, and it was very hard and harsh. So I was like, that's when that panic attack started. And he done went to the bathroom the whole time they fussing and fighting.
Which is probably why he brings it up later in episode 9. I don't think he really showed in the moment how bothered he was by that whole by that chaos. And I'm not sure it was like I don't think he was necessarily bothered by like the misogynistic angle, like you're talking to an ex thing. It seemed like he was more so bothered by the conflict. You know what I mean? Like just the loud, over the top, back and forth conflict. I think that stressed him out. So that's just a little tidbit. He was not actually doing well during that time.
I did not know that he was having a panic attack. I mean, that definitely does change things. I think that immediately, changes things because then it means, I think this goes back to the whole situation with even his parents, you know, trying to tell him about, you know, what kind of woman he should choose, he gonna be stressed dealing with Lydia his whole entire life, because that woman's gonna bring drama to his door. Because if you keep telling her that she's emotional, Captain, that is a signal that you two are probably not in the best shape, because she's going to do things differently to you. And I'm not even trying to say she's necessarily even bad, but in this instance, she deals with things on a more emotional level. So are you gonna always have a panic attack when these situations happen? And the reality is you're just not, and maybe also as well, you're just not as cool as you think you are about her talking to her ex. It might have felt some type of way. You know what I mean? Like you know, and I understand that too. Like you've been acting real cool, like it's her ex, and it's like, all right, cool. But actually reminds me of the situation in the pods. And I wonder if he was having a panic attack then. When she first told him about the situation, he was like, he's cool, but you could see his whole body. He put his hand on his head. He was sitting back, and eventually he had to leave the room. And come back again in 5-10 minutes. I wonder if he had another panic attack then when she told him about the first instance of her and Uche. So, you know, that's an indication that, you know, oh boy, maybe isn't as composed as he likes to make himself feel, you know.
Well, I think we got to remember he was a black kid in Japan as well. So I think it's just a stress, a way that he deals with the stress, you know. When feel like he's in a pressure situation, because he did sit in the pods with Uche and act real calm and cool after he found out or whatnot, like it was nothing. But you were bothered, and that's reasonable. You was kind of blindsided. You should let those emotions out sometimes, you know, feel some type of way in the moment and stuff. And so he was just trying to hold it all in while Uche was telling everybody and revealing everybody that they was together. And he's just like, oh, well, did y'all get into an argument? What you say? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, just say you know already. Stop acting like you're not bothered by it. You seen Uche trying to tell you in the pod about her and all this, and you made your decision. It is what it is. Now he's trying to stand by that decision and act totally unbothered. But I also think that stems from his parents and the way that they deal with their emotions too.
Yep.
And we kind of get to that later on, but just watching how his parents, his whole family, not so much the dad, because we didn't see much of the dad, a little bit, but
the mom
is definitely unemotional about a lot of stuff. She's just like straight to the core, job, business, everything is about business or whatnot. So I think that's just the way he has learned how to process emotions, and that causes him to have a panic attack because he's suppressing a lot.
And some people, when they let it out because they don't know how it's going to turn out, they get afraid to let their emotions out. Milton may be the type of person, if he lets out his emotions, it may be completely over the top, or it may not match the crime because he's not used to letting out his emotions. So I've noticed with people who do what Milton doing, they're doing it for everybody's sake, including their own. They're trying to bring it in because they don't have practice expressing themselves. And if they do express themselves, they don't know what it's going to look like. So they go to the corner, they express themselves or hold it in, have panic attacks. And so when they come out to the public, they're able to kind of, you know, be calm and cool because, you know, they've already kind of internally, I don't want to say processed it, because really that's not a way of processing, but they've internally dealt with it. So I think he needs to actually probably work on how to express himself in a controlled environment. Because doing what he's doing is detrimental. And I agree with Kojo and whoever else said that Lydia is not the person to begin that practice with, because he's not going to be able to properly regulate his emotions while trying to regulate hers, because hers aren't regulated at all. So
Sean, don't you want to add anything?
I know that I think that was the panic attack thing was something that came out later. So I mean, maybe I have a slightly different opinion about it. I think, like, listen, I know people who have panic attacks, and I think that he's able to hold it together. And from what we see, he is doing a good job of communicating with Lydia.
of, at this point being able to address conflict. So I wouldn't necessarily hold the panic attack against him and saying that, this means he's going to have a more explosive reaction. When people have panic attacks, they need to do what, they need to separate themselves and go into a separate space and deal with that. And I think that's what he did. And the show, I guess, perhaps gave him grace and didn't, air that out. So, listen, I definitely agree that Lydia is not the person to be in a relationship with, because it's a volatile relationship, and that's not good for anybody, let alone somebody who, has challenges with dealing with anxiety.
That's fair. I'm not going to be mad at it. I'm not going to be mad at it at all. I actually understand that perspective as well. I just think to myself that I think that, he gonna have a lot more panic attacks. Like you know what I mean? Like you're panic attacking because you're anxious about the future, or you're anxious about something that hasn't necessarily happened as of yet, or you think something's gonna happen. So like that's gonna be something that's gonna happen quite a lot if you've got a Lydia there who doesn't know how to control her emotions, or doesn't do things the way that you want to do them. And so with that, you're gonna see far more of those from Milton. Do you know what I'm saying? I think there's a lot more happening. I think there's a lot more happening in terms of with Milton, because like his mom, like you lot said, is unemotional. His sister tried to get on him and at first I didn't get why he came so hard against her. But then when I kind of watched it again, I was like, nah, she's trying to tell him, she's trying to almost son him. And it's like, yo, I know that he may not be making the best decision, but what she's not going to do is son me, basically, in a sense. So I can see why that is. We're kind of drifting away from the Uche situation, but yeah, so that I do understand. You know what I mean? Let's go then to obviously Uche had a situation with Miriam. Want to get your thoughts on that? That's for episode 9. But Uche Miriam beef, which obviously encompassed Stacey also telling Johnny to fix her face. What's your guys' thoughts on Uche and Miriam and that beef? Because some people are using that as a method to try and prove that he's a colorist too, but I didn't really see it that way. But anyway, you know how it be.
Let me tell you why people are saying that.
Go for it.
This is from a person who frankly found it very entertaining, and I'm just going to say I laughed out loud. I thought it was funny. But what I will say, what is not funny about it is, and this goes to kind of, again, off stuff off of the show, of Aaliyah basically saying that Uche did not find her attractive. And he said that to her face. I think Uche does not either like brown skinned women or and I can't even say women with natural hair because Miriam didn't have that, or he doesn't like, Uche doesn't like, it doesn't seem like he likes black women or women that remind him of being black or something. There's some issue there, because the way he was able to dismiss and be so rude to Aaliyah, I knew before she even admitted on, I think it was the Hamilton's podcast and YouTube channel, that he wasn't attracted to black women, or wasn't attracted to her. I'm sorry. I can get that vibe from the way he spoke to her, and the way that he spoke to Miriam was the same dismissive, you're not even here type of vibe. Now, I'm not going to say Miriam didn't butt in, because she definitely butted into the conversation. But the way he kind of like shooed her off and dismissed her was the same kind of rude, dismissive way he had towards Aaliyah. He definitely doesn't have that vibe when he's talking to Lydia or even talking about her, even though he's mad at her. I peeped that. But I will say on the flip side, Miriam thought she ate and she didn't eat. Uche ate her up. Now, I know some of the girlies in the chat ain't gonna want to admit it, but he ate her up. He ate her up. He ate her up because she gave everybody too much ammo with all the nonsense she was talking about and all that mess with her career and this and that. And then, she tried to hit him with the John Hopkins clapback, and that didn't really hit like she thought it did. So, I mean, he ate her up. I think this also proves that he's a very petty man, because only a super, super petty man can eat somebody up the way he did. He tore her up so bad. I was like, oh, you do this. Like, you're a really, really petty, sassy man. But I ain't gonna sit here and lie to you and say he didn't eat her up, because he did. But there is some truth to whatever people are talking about in these streets. I think he does not. I don't think he's too fond of black women or a certain looking type of black women, because the way he dismissed her like she was nothing shows complete disdain for her. And I think that comes from somewhere.
Anyone want to take us on the Miriam and Uche situation? Jay, Sean?
Don't matter.
Tired of you, Jay.
I'm sorry. I mean, I agree with Seaway on that he ate on that one and stuff because she gave him the MO when she was in confusion about her own life. Do I think she was wrong for betting in? Not really, because I'm about as petty, so it needed to happen because he was about to be on some BS about Lydia and whatnot, and she was standing up for her friend and she didn't want to hear it, so it is what it is. Because it's like, sir, don't come over here and talk about Lydia. You still want her. Like, go on about your way. I will not agree on the point of, does this make him a colorist or whatever? I have no clue. I just felt like if somebody jumped in, he was ready to give it to him because that's just the type of guy he is or whatnot. That's the energy I get. He is very petty. And he was ready to give it to her, and she got it. She effed around and found out. So...
You got boyfriend, you don't got boyfriend. You got a job, you don't got a job. I gotta hit somebody with that. Uche laid her the F out.
Hey, man, I died.
It was the he closed it with the do you live in Saudi Arabia? Where do you live? You live in Dubai?
Right.
Where do you live?
Where do you live?
Where do you live, ho?
Because he hit her with everything we were trying to figure out. You got a business, you don't got a business.
Listen, I'm not mad at her for jumping in because we got all of that and I needed it.
It solidified that was not editing. We don't know to this. I mean, now I think she came out with some moisturizer.
Yeah, but at the same time, she still don't tell you. She keep trying to tell you next TikTok, I'll tell you what it is. So we still don't know what she got.
I was like, and you also have to understand, I don't know who she was with at that mixer. But you know, I guess he felt as if she was there. She was just there for clout, and she also she was just there for clout in the pods because you're I don't know, nothing that she was saying made any sense with her job, where she lived. I was thinking skin bleaching too, child. I really was.
That's what it might be too, but you know,
I don't know.
I don't know nothing about it because she ain't
spoke. It was for dry skin. She said it was for dry skin. I was like, okay, Miriam.
She ain't spoke about it yet.
I don't know how many different ways we're gonna put shea butter in some form of combination and put it on dry skin. I have no idea, but you know, he ate her up. If y'all don't think he ate her up, I don't know what y'all were looking at. When you start screaming halfway about to cry and a person walked off on you, you've lost. I just want you to know, when the moment you start screaming and halfway about to cry and he done left the room.
I know people.
You know what else it was, Seaway, is when she constantly was like, I'll be the one to get you together. When you have to, like, it's like the person that's fighting. I know I won this fight. Meanwhile, they're the one that looks the most bruised. No. You don't have to proclaim yourself the victor.
Remember, Stacey's like, take a beat.
Right. You know what bothers me a lot though is when people be like, "Oh, he has no right to talk to a woman like that." Well, you have no right as a woman to be jumping in the man's face. Hush. Then, if you don't want to be talked to crazy, because you can't control what people gonna react once you get to talking to them crazy sometimes. So,
well, I think
absolutely.
But he wasn't aggressive with her. That's why he ate her up. He was never aggressive with her. He didn't yell at her.
On her.
He ate her up without yelling at her or nothing.
Demeaning her, like didn't call her out her name or anything, just used her own truth on her.
Yeah, he just said, "No, girl, you can't be coming at me because your house ain't in order." That's really what happened. That's why she got pissed off, and that's when she starts spewing degrees. When people got to start spewing their degrees, that you've also lost. When we're talking about where you got your degree from, you've already lost. So No, nobody. I don't remember nobody jumped in nobody's face, but she definitely jumped in the conversation.
Yep, and he let her know exactly where she needed to stand down. So that's where she needed to stand. Okay, so he let her know correctly. I just watched it again behind the scenes, and to be honest, you know what I mean. He was talking to Stacey. He was asking Stacey the questions. Miriam piped up. He then said, "Listen, Miriam, keep quiet. I want to talk to Stacey." When she heard that, she's like, "I'm not taking that. No way I'm going to let you tell me to keep quiet." And then she went off on a little tiki tiki, and then it sidetracked the conversation in that respect. So, and when she said, "I'm the one that's going to be able to gather you together," that tells me you've already had animosity from a little bit before this as well. So both of these two. I think what happened in the pod, they both were, you know what it was? They both just realized we strong. We both gonna be a little bit wrong, but we ain't you ain't gonna play in my face, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, so they both saw each other. You know what I'm saying? So, now people are rewriting the history. Uche walked off because he couldn't handle the toe to toe. But it's like, if he doesn't walk off, then he's aggressive. If he does this, you can't win. So I said, listen, at the end of the day, he let Miriam know. I don't think it's because she was black. I don't think because she was Nigerian. I don't think she was, she's of any particular skin tone. The reality is, I knew you before in the pod. I spoke to you already. You were bugging in the bog. I still can't know what your career and job is. You didn't nail it down, and you're out here piping up on empty dreams, talking about my situation with a girl that I think is trying to stalk me. Which, technically, I don't know how fully true that is, but I can see how it could be. And you're piping up. Yeah, you gonna get it. You gonna get it. I don't think it's because she's black. I'll be honest with you. I don't think it's because she's black. I don't think she goes black. You know what I'm saying to you? So,
well, at minimum,
whether he
you're right.
likes black women,
They didn't like each other. At minimum, they didn't like each other. And honestly, as soon as Miriam piped in, Uche was gonna shut her down because he ain't like her and she don't like him.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm again, I'll be queen of the nuance. Queen of the nuance. I do think the fact that she is not a woman that maybe he would date, I think it made it easier for him to be more dismissive and condescending of her. And so that's just going to be my nuanced opinion for the night. I think both things can be true at the same time.
No doubt.
So, but there was something else. I don't know if Kojo wants to segue to Izzy and
Just go ahead and do it.
Yeah. I don't know if that's where you were going, Coach. Okay. So then going to the whole altercation between Izzy and Johnny and Chris. Now that we've seen all the episodes, I know exactly what happened. Johnny knows a lot about Izzy. Johnny knows that Izzy is a broke. Is if he ain't broke, he definitely got bad credit. Johnny knows that he's dusty. And so Izzy literally goes on attack mode with Johnny. I'm not saying Johnny don't got her problems because we all know that she do. But now that I'm really seeing it for what it is, like you literally got all up in, you really was excited about breaking Johnny down, all to try to keep her from spilling tea that you broke and got bad credit.
Thank you, Seaway, for finally seeing where I've been at. Thank you. Don't make that face.
Now, Jay.
She not lying, but she was wrong for sitting there. She is not a safe space. I've been saying this. I've been saying that.
Jay, you better pipe down over there.
Nope, you pipe down.
You better pipe down over there.
It's not a safe space, but she is not a lie because she went right in there as soon as he got
you
that.
You better pipe down over there.
He came back with that proposal. She was like, "Oh, he got bad credit. He got this and all this stuff like that." She ain't tell no lie though.
I ain't the one, Jay. I ain't the one. I'm gonna shut you down.
Right. Thank you. You ain't told no lie. Mute me to shut me down.
I mean, but the crazy part is everybody's beef with Johnny is more about them than it is about Johnny. Izzy has a beef with Johnny because he will be able to relate to Johnny on some like, we both live not great lives. I got bad credit. You got drug adjacent issues, allegedly, whatever. So we bonded over that. she was able to peep the FICO, and then he wanted to bounce because he wanted something better. Stacey got an issue with Johnny because she's mad that she's even on the same playing field as Johnny. She feels like the audacity that this man that I'm marrying really was even interested in this bottom of a barrel chick. That's how Stacey feels about Johnny. So she goes and attacks Johnny, or she's mad at Johnny just for existing. Low key, because everything Johnny said is no worse than any other thing that anybody said about anybody in these pods. She's mad that she is on the same playing field with this lady. And that comes up later.
Now, Seaway, I just have to add some color to that. That could be part of it, but another aspect of it is Johnny was talking crap about Stacey in the pods. And she came back angry once she got dumped by Izzy. So yeah, and then also remember, Johnny was telling the same story to Chris and Izzy. So she is very manipulative and, little emotional and reactive. So she's not completely innocent. And that's more of what Stacey's issue is with her. That other stuff could be in the background, but the main thing was it got back to Stacey that she was talking crap about her.
Well, she told Stacey in her face, "You diabolical because you didn't tell me you was getting with Izzy."
I mean, that's true, right? I mean, that's true. I think Johnny did do stuff to piss Stacey off. I mean, we all know that Johnny is not, the most fantastic human out there either. I don't think there's truth to everything that everyone's saying, but I always look at the level of venom that people have with their anger. And to me, the venom doesn't really equate the stuff that was going on. Because to me, Stacey was being sneaky too in the pods, not trying to tell people who she was talking to the last minute, eavesdropping on Johnny conversations so she could be a pick-me and go into the pods and be all opposite of Johnny so she could try to take the man. And when everything came out, Johnny felt away. They both were playing games. I don't know.
Johnny been talking about Stacey from the very beginning.
Yeah.
He didn't like the fact that Johnny had a connection with Izzy. I'm not saying that she's the only one to blame, to be honest, because Stacey's got some issues. Of course, I think partly because Johnny was speaking about her, but I think also as well, like you said, Seaway, Stacey's arrogant. She got an ego. So she thinks she's way better than Johnny, and she can't, and that's why she had so much an issue of Izzy being happy about the fact that, I just love you because, you're not like her. She finds it actually insulting that someone like Johnny is linked to her or being compared to her. Maybe it's a classism or whatever. Maybe white people have their own little colorism. Who knows? Because she's brunette and she's blonde. Who knows? But whatever it is, that's some raw colorism there. Some hairism right there. But it's like, so like, I definitely see that her venom was way too much, because at one point, where did it make sense when Uche is saying his story and Johnny's like, and she's like, fix your face for what? Like, this is not your thing. So what is it that you're fighting me over in that moment? And that's when I know that that's nothing to do with the fact that she said anything about you. Now that's to do with your venom towards her because you feel like you're better than her, and you think you're in a different stratosphere to her. You know what I mean? I know that she comes from a very wealthy family, Stacey, or at least they became wealthy again after granddaddy got broke. But there's definitely some deeper issues when it comes to that with Stacey towards Johnny. I have to admit that.
That's
Johnny ain't shit for doubling back. So that's what I'm saying.
Right. That's the part that bothered me about Stacey, was that whole scene right there, because just a second ago you didn't want Izzy talking to her, going back to her. And all of a sudden, now you're staring at her instead of listening to Uche's story, because Uche is on the opposite side of Johnny. Why are you staring at Johnny to even know what her face looks like, to tell her to fix her face? So you are waiting for any moment to find the moment to come at her. Just come at her. Because if she was talking about you in the pods, just be like, hey, let me pull you to the side. Can I ask you why you was talking about me in the pods? Why you have some problem with me and stuff like that? You don't have to sit here and try to like sun her in front of people for no reason. Her face wasn't even towards you. Like, it's not about you. The moment is about Uche right now and whatever he got going on. And now you try to make the focus on you with Johnny. And then to sit up and Izzy's conversation with Chris and be like, oh, I didn't know y'all was talking about this, and then proceed to have conversation. Like, if you don't want none of the mess, then stay out of it. You're not trying to address Johnny about her relationship with Chris, so why are you addressing Chris about the relationship? It has nothing to do with you. Izzy is okay because I can understand they were sharing notes up in the pod, but you have no absolutely regards for Chris, so why are you talking about it? Why do you even care? Just go on about your business. You say you don't care. Now you getting out to the house and being mad that you're being compared to him, or being mad that he finds it attractive and turned on, which is kind of weird, that you're attacking this woman. That's a lot of energy to that woman. And she had right to question him on that part too. It's like, why are you so pressed about me coming at this girl in any kind of form? Why are you still pressed about this girl? You're supposed to be happy here. You say she happy over there. Why are you still coming home talking about, ooh, that just turned me on when I seen you get at her and all this stuff? Cringe. And then he turned around to be the victim. But we'll get to that in a minute. Go ahead, Sean.
No, y'all are good. Y'all are good. I think y'all brought some interesting color to it. So, I've been slightly swayed.
You said slightly swayed to what?
To see the part that Stacey was bothered by Johnny more about other things, more about whether it's aesthetics or the fact that, they were in a competition over Izzy, and she didn't feel like, they should be in the same league.
That's fair. I ain't mad at it. That's definitely fair. So you guys are rinsed out. You spoken enough about Stacey and Johnny. You guys, what do you guys think about the Johnny and Stacey tag team? though?
Johnny and Stacey tag team where?
Sorry, not Johnny. Stacey and Izzy tag team on Johnny. When he went to speak to Chris, and try to help him out.
Oh,
apparently he was trying to help him out. What do you guys think about that situation? Do you think he was trying to help out Chris, or do you think he was trying to cop block the movement?
I mean, Izzy was just being, again, sassy. He was another sassy man, and Stacey coming over there, she was just trying to get, she was trying to get what she had to get out as well. I just felt like it was a bad look for Stacey. I thought Stacey had looked pretty good up until this point. I think she had defeated whatever stereotype that people had of her. Then this episode took a deep dive. But what I will say is that Chris ain't with Johnny right now. Chris is with some animal rescue lady that he was with before the show. So Chris may not have been crap either. I don't know what's going on with him. But I'm sure he probably saw that whatever Johnny had to her was too much. So the problem with this show and this scene is that everybody legit has problems. And even Chris now, we want to add him. Because what you doing with the same lady you was with before the show? So you got Chris with his animal rescuing girlfriend now. That's suspect. You got Johnny with her obvious issues. Izzy being feminine and sassy, getting off by going off on a girl. And then Stacey, who's arrogant and enjoys cutting Johnny down. I'm like, all of you guys are low-key in the wrong at this point. So it's kind of hard to discuss when everybody is just so wrong.
I mean, Chris was just just like Johnny. He just realized that he needs to go back where he started. You know what I'm saying? Johnny realized that Chris was actually number one, and Chris realized that his ex was number one. That's all. Nothing heavy. You know what I mean? Nothing big about that. Not at all.
What's the Brian McKnight song? Start back at one. He just started back at one.
What's you, Jay and Sean? What's your thoughts on this, man?
All right, let's not all speak at once.
Yeah, thank you.
They said don't matter. Next subject.
Right, because it really don't. Like, this was a pointless thing to do. Like, I didn't understand what y'all trying to accomplish. Izzy, you just trying to break up whatever Johnny and Chris had going on for the temporary. You didn't have to, like C-Way said earlier with the Lydia and Uche, or Sean, one of y'all said it earlier. It's going to happen. They don't need no help. Obviously, they didn't need no help. So he went back Whatever the note said, he didn't care. He went back. Let that man be grown. At the time, I see the first time when they were sharing notes, okay? The first time I warned you about this girl. After that, you're a grown man. You made your decision. You made your bed, lie in it. That's on you. I've told you about this girl already once. There's no need for me to come back and tell you about her again. And if I truly feel like you're happy, there's really no need for me to worry. If I'm happy in my relationship, I should not be caring about what's going on in yours at all either. So for Stacey, Izzy, and Johnny to be sitting there trying to convince Chris about his decision, y'all all was foolish. Chris made up his mind. He did what he did, and now he's back with his animal caregiver.
All y'all foolish.
Yeah, I'll just add that typically unsolicited advice is the worst advice. So whenever you feel like you need to tell somebody without them asking, don't. Especially when you have a history with the person that they're with, you know, so that no matter whether your bias is conscious or unconscious, likely not to be received well. So, you know, keep your unsolicited advice to yourself. It would be different if Chris was like, tell me what you think. Clearly, y'all had a conversation, just like Jay said in the pods. He made a decision not to, you know, be with her, you know, when they were there, but decided to, you know, circle back. Everything else is on him, you know, and let them figure it out. Let people have to figure things out for themselves. So him going into it, he had too much energy, too much passion, trying to reopen a case that was already closed. And I think sometimes people just got to know when to let things go cold. Silence is, in many instances, in situations like that, the best option. Those are my thoughts.
What's your favorite line, Sean? You got to know how to what?
I done forgot now. Tell me.
You got to know when to fold it, when to hold them, when to fold
Oh, that's
them.
right. When to hold them and to fold them. That's it. My bad.
That's
My
right.
migraine has me
I know,
in a
Sean,
mental block.
me and you had an offline talk about it and stuff, and I agree with the fact that you said intel is good intel, but this was one of the moments that I was just like, it's unnecessary. You know what I'm saying? Like the Milton and the Uche situation is more necessary because they never had a real talk about it. But these two, you guys already shared notes. Why are you going back over there? You know? But I agree, like all intel is good intel, but sometimes we don't have to retell a story we done told already and try to convince the person not to be with somebody they chose to be with. Let it go.
100%. You know, we're not going to keep having the same conversation twice. And I think he was silly to think like, if you think you already spoke to him, y'all had a conversation, he made a decision, then he decided to revisit it on his own. You think you're going to sell another man on their decision that they've already made? One thing about men is like once we are dug into a decision, we've made it, especially when it comes to a relationship. And there's not going to be pretty much anybody that's going to come in and tell me, oh no, you shouldn't be with her, unless you have something like late breaking, you know. But even then, chances are, again, I just think the unsolicited part is like when they were in the pods and had the conversation, it was more of like, okay, let's just kind of like hash some things out. But this wasn't that situation. You want to pull him to the side. First, you want to rip into his girlfriend. And then you want to have a conversation with him and tell him to break up with her. Wrong road.
Sorry, but you're absolutely right. Okay, so let's move on then, because I think we've exhausted the Johnny Chris situation as well. You know, she says, "Am I a bad person? Like Chris, am I a bad person?" Okay, bish. All right, cool. Next one we talk about. Oh no, Izzy and Stacey. Obviously, next episode and this episode actually, episode 8 and 9, they discuss finances. Want to get you guys' thoughts. He talked about his credit. She said about the credit card situation that he, you know, didn't tell the full truth. I want to get your thoughts on this situation about the credit. What's you guys' thoughts on this? You know, yeah, go for it.
I feel like Stacey either is a bit manipulative when it comes to like being on this show as a whole, or she doesn't want to face truths that are much needed but are very dire to her, because clearly the finance is a big thing to her. She tells you the whole story of how her family lost it, got it back, regained, did all these things and all this stuff. Everybody likes to tell how like she likes first class trips and nice things and all this stuff. So finances clearly is a big thing, but for her not to actually like have the real deep in-depth talk in the pods, and I'm not going to put this all on her, because Izzy does admit that a couple of times when it came up, he deflected and did other things. But when he deflected, she should have reared it back in and been stuck on it, because she's so fixed on it every other time, like to the point that we know how much her air conditioning costs. So it's a big thing to you. So every time he deflected, you should have just not let him do that, stood on that and just got it out of him in the moment, so you wouldn't have been wasting so much time with him only to find out he has bad credit. Now it's kind of like you're stuck. Like you got to follow this through, because you done met parents and all this. You've taken doggy pictures all together, that family doggy pictures together and all this stuff. You're kind of like gluing yourself in. You're one step away from having a baby, and now you're finding out that he can't support it. That's crazy. I don't know how y'all be spending so much time. And I get where Izzy was back in the day talking about, oh, she's just so much fun, because this is probably some of the conversations that you should have been having but weren't really having. You know, now you want to have it and get mad because he don't have it. Well, you could have made a better choice in the pods had you go ahead and put your deal breakers on the table first and just say, hey, finances is a big thing to me. Do you have it or not? Are you going to be able to provide for me or not? Do you have a credit card? Because that's the way you actually found out that his credit is messed up, asking him, do you even have a credit card? So moving forward, I hope that she learns this lesson, because this is just my prediction. I don't know if they're going to make it too much further, but let me jump over to Izzy. So Izzy, bruh, how you running around calling Johnny sketchy, but you over here deflecting and lying about your credit? Because there's a few times that Stacey said it was brought up and the conversation was there for you to go ahead and admit that your credit was off and you didn't do it. Now out of nowhere, you want to just go ahead and tell her, you know what? Well, I got bad credit and stuff, and so that's why I don't have a credit card or whatnot. She was going to find out one way or the other. That's crazy. Like, that's something you kind of want to tell somebody that you're potentially going to get married to, is that, hey, you about to inherit some bad credit from me. We see how that turned out with people trying to deny the credit of it all. And yeah, that didn't go too far. So I'll just leave it alone, because I'm about to go off the scene in a second. So.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. What's you guys? What's any other thoughts on that particular commentary in terms of finances? Yes, Sean.
Yeah, I just think similar to what Jay was saying, it's something that he should have disclosed very early, and I just think it just lends some insight into his process during the pods, and maybe why he decided to move forward with Johnny. I mean, with going with Stacey versus Johnny, because he got really deep with Johnny, and he stayed on the surface with Stacey. And he wanted that fun, so it allowed him to hide some of the things that he pretty much didn't want to be exposed, and it didn't come out until the end. And I think the biggest issue is he kept it from her because he was embarrassed, he was ashamed, and he didn't feel good enough. And he said that to her several times, in this process. Even when they had that conversation, is like, and they were talking about it, he was like, I don't feel like I'm good enough for you. That self-perception is a big deal, and you just made it a self-fulfilling prophecy, because now you're technically not, because you weren't honest. And I think the honesty is a bigger problem than the actual financial component of it, although that is very important in a marriage. But the fact that you couldn't be open, and I think that's legit why Stacey is upset, is because he held it back. But she has to own a part of that. similar to what Jay said. It's like she, and she was so clear in the pods about wanting to keep things light and not wanting to get deep, and that's how she's navigated relationships in the past. Hey, this is a learning lesson. You got to have a balance, and you have to have a little bit of everything, because there's some things that you need to get to the root of. And by avoiding things and not talking about it and trying to stay so light and fluffy, you're going to miss some potential red flags or issues that you could have, got out off the table up front. And I knew there was an issue with his finances before, even without Johnny saying what she said. When he came to her house and he was none too thrilled about moving in and picking out which wall he's going to put the TV on. Yeah, man. Whenever you have to move into a woman's space, I don't recommend. Yeah, I don't recommend it. I would have said, can we Airbnb in this house and do something together? How are we going to figure this out? Because that whole situation seemed very much like he was too thrilled to kind of be taken care of by her. He was way too enthused. And lastly, I think, Salaya said it in the comments, haven't seen her in a while, but she reminded me of that comment, right? That the father said Love needs to fly first class. Is Love, AKA Stacy? Because I ain't never heard Love needing to fly first class. A person needs to fly first class or likes to fly first class, but the pops was like, Love needs to fly first class. That to me is like, okay, I don't know if that has anything to do with love, but more so lifestyle and preference.
Child, Sean, I thought he was referring to the lady off of You, the character off You. Her name was Love. And, she was a little serial killer too. So I was like, oh, Lord.
Stacy is cold-blooded though.
And I mean, she came from a rich family too. The character, I was like, oh my God, they're so alike. Izzy better watch out. That's all I say.
Well, I want to say that she didn't ask him, but then when I rewatched it, she says that she asked him about finances.
Oh, okay. She asked me about the finances.
Yeah, she says in there, she says, but when I asked you, in the argument, she goes, but when I asked you, you didn't mention it. You know what I mean? You didn't say anything. And that to me is where I would say more of the blame has to go to Izzy for omitting information. Do I feel like credit scores and things like that are the end all be all for some people in relationships? No. There's a lot of people that don't mix their finances to after they get married, and especially if you're getting married earlier on in life, it doesn't come up as much as people would think. But Stacy was clearly the type of person, from even what she talked about in the pods, that credit and finances were really important. So him not bringing that up or evading her question or whatever he did was on purpose. And I feel like that's what makes him very shady.
Sketchy.
And sketchy. I mean, because as a woman who's in her mid-30s and very successful and has her own money, the most scary thing you can do is merge your life and your finances with a man that's sketchy. And for that alone, she's not going to marry him because it doesn't benefit her. Marrying Izzy actually does not benefit her at all. It's a liability. Marrying him is a complete liability. So I do agree with what you guys are saying. He has a inferiority complex when it comes to Stacy. But what makes me not feel bad for him is that he feels inferior next to Stacy, but superior to Johnny, and made her feel like trash. Which I was like, if this season is not the definition of hurt people, because the amount of hurt he feels, and he was sliding down the wall and crying with Stacy, he was just an episode earlier making Johnny feel the same way. He feels inferior next to Stacy, but wants to make Johnny feel the same way. I just found that to be really, really ironic. So
Sean, we had sliding down walls and now crying in the closet.
You got a bad mind.
He legit. Well, he was crying in the bathroom.
I see the mop bucket behind him.
Right, Seaway. He was crying in the bathroom.
He was in the closet. He was in the closet. You better go. You better look at that. Yeah, you better look at that again when he closes the door. He came out the closet.
He went running to that closet.
Maybe the you know how the walk-in closet is attached to the bathroom, so maybe. But I saw a bathroom in the bathroom.
He got off the floor of the closet.
That's what you got to read. When he runs to that closet. I was like, are we 5? Who goes running to the closet? He went running to the closet and started sliding down the wall, as you would say. That's what he did.
Nah, y'all gonna do him dirty. Listen, it can be a closet, it could be a room. It doesn't matter. The person felt like he had a safe space in the closet, and I think we should honor that. Okay, all right. Stacey the day before ran to her bedroom. Listen, everybody runs. These two are both runners, so you know when they feel sad, they run to their respective rooms. Guys, come on.
But is that a regular thing for a grown man to be crying for that reason? I have a question.
In the closet?
No, I'm just talking about. Is that what y'all cry about?
It was and like I was saying, it wasn't necessarily. Well, 1, he got called out. 2, and it was over something embarrassing, and now it's on national TV for the whole world to discuss. So look, he brought it on himself because he could have had the conversation a whole lot earlier on. He could have had it off camera with her. And they could have, figured a way to navigate the conversation, navigate it together. But he did what people do when they're ashamed, is try to hide it in the secret and hope it, it comes up, but doesn't come up when, a time when it's going to be most embarrassing. But unfortunately, it came out when it came out. And I think that's the part that made him so emotional, because it was his biggest fear being fully actualized, right? He's technically not good enough for her in a real tangible sense versus the stuff that plays out in our minds. This is real, because now a lot of the things that she wants, he's not going to be able to give to her. So I think, again, I'm not justifying him lying. I'm not justifying him not being upfront about it, but I'm saying, yes, hell yeah, that's emotional, because that's an ego bruise. That's hurt. That's pain. That's everything, that kind of ties into even being a man is now being compromised, because it's your ability to provide. It's your ability to do things. And it's stuff that is very important to her, which is why you see that he tries to do this grandiose date with this airplane to try to kind of overcompensate for this particular issue. And that's him trying to say, hey, listen, I can show you a lifestyle. I can do top class things, high class things or A1 experiences. And unfortunately, we still have to address it because it's something that, whatever it may be, whether it's bankruptcy, whether it's bad credit, whatever the financial challenge he's having from a credit aspect, it's stuff that's going to have to be worked on, and it's not going to happen overnight.
Well, this is what happens when you're white identified. So I really don't feel bad for him. He's white identified, and he flocked towards his colonizer fiance, who literally has benefited off the backs of systematic racism. Her daddy is let's call it out. Her daddy, she is from the Caucasus Mountains, and she has completely benefited from systematic racism. Her daddy got the pull up by the bootstrap story, that good old boy story that they love to tell. Okay, he should have known that this was going to be out of his league anyway. But what he wanted to do was be white identified and white adjacent, and that's who he picked. And him and that mama and his background and that bad credit and that probably previous bankruptcy, allegedly, was never going to add up to his colonizer fiance. And now I'm supposed to feel bad for him?
Well, I don't necessarily think it's feeling bad. It's just adding the color, right? Just like we had that conversation about Janelle adding color to the situation. I don't think it excuses him, but it just gives a different color and adds some light into, why he was sliding down the wall and running into that closet.
Oh, I do appreciate that color. I understand. It's probably lots of reasons why he was crying. I'm not saying you guys want me to feel bad for him. I'm just, hey, Abby, I'm just saying I don't feel bad for him because I believe he put himself in this situation to be as close to whiteness, and not any old whiteness, not trailer trash whiteness, not drug addict whiteness. He wanted to be literally with the cream of the crop whiteness on the show, and he wanted to align himself with that, knowing good and well he did not have the statistics in the background necessary to add up. He didn't have the job, he didn't have the finances, he didn't have the credit, he didn't have none of that. And that's been my problem with Izzy this whole time. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, because I already know what type of man he is.
This is off brand, but I'm gonna just need Seaway to change her name to Huey Friedman, because she gonna be on the diaspora every single time.
Who is Huey Friedman?
Off of the Boondocks.
Oh.
I mean, I just don't like when I feel like people of color align themselves with whiteness to get ahead, and then when they don't pass muster, then they're devastated. But Izzy doesn't have the background, probably the financial literacy, or there's so many things that probably got him into the situation that he did. He talked about his father's situation. I mean, his family probably did the best that he could, but he's not with anybody who's going to appreciate, as Sean would say, the color to his background and the things to him, as I would say. So instead, he has lied, he has scammed, he has been sketchy, all to try to add up to somebody that he's not. And that is my call to him. You need to own whatever your family history, whoever you are, whatever trouble you've been through, the mistakes that you've made. If he was with a person of color, and I don't want to get on my high horse, but a lot of us actually can relate to some of the financial illiterate decisions that he probably made in his 20s. A lot of us didn't have the education, including myself. No one told me what to do with the credit cards that I got mailed to me when I was 18, 19. Not a soul. So I probably wouldn't have been as judgmental towards Izzy in his situation. He probably would have felt comfortable to tell me. But that's not Stacey's situation. So, right, Black Tornado, he's in too deep.
I'm gonna shift the converse. If anybody else want to say anything, I'm gonna shift it a little bit ahead since we on the plane or whatever. I just want to say this, and production probably did pay for this date or whatnot, but even if it didn't, I would never suggest to a person to do grand gestures that they cannot live up to. Do not sit here and try to give her private planes and this stuff if you cannot do it on a regular. Treat her to dates that you're going to have to get her accustomed to until you got it. When you actually got it, then you can do it. But if you don't have it, it is tricking. Okay, at this point, when you don't have it, it's tricking. And sir, you don't have it. You're not going to be able to do this again. So that's like the worst thing to do when you're dating somebody is start off taking them trips around the world and all this stuff like that, going here, there in Paris. And then next week, we can't do nothing else. Or next year, we can't do nothing else. Or next 5 years, we still can't do nothing else because I blew it all on that one shot just to attract you, to lure you in. And I cannot uphold the relationship anymore. And I know things happen, that's different. But if you know you just do not have it in the very beginning, do not pretend till you make it. Do not fake it till you make it, all that craziness and stuff for a relationship. That's the worst setup you can ever do. And I kind of wish it was a very nice date. It was a date that I know she'd probably never forget, and that's what she always want. But it was a foolish date on his part because he just right now in this moment cannot live up to doing that on a regular basis for her. So.
Totally hear you. Any other thoughts on this before we shift it?
No, I just agree with Jay. That was a good point.
Cool. Sean, any other thoughts before we shift it? No? Someone said about the plunger gift that he gave her. Okay, cool. Let's talk then Obviously, it was Izzy and Stacey. Who's the other couple? I know it's Milton and Lydia, but who else is the other couple?
That's
That's it.
all.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah, this is why this
Oh.
season is so challenging, because there's not a lot of couples that have made it down to the aisle part. You know, that's why they're bringing in these other people like Chris and Johnny, and even Uche and Aaliyah, to try to talk more about some other couples, because they're not highlighting any of the other ones.
Yeah, like Crystal said, the only thing we miss is the meeting the family when Stacey met Izzy's mom and whatever, and when Lydia went over there to meet Milton's family, and they did the dress shopping
Yeah,
and the suit shopping.
dress shopping. I can't remember.
Yeah,
Crap. they
dress
talked about.
shopping was episode 9, and then that was the then Milton and Lydia's date, because that was a big one too. That's 9.
Yeah.
But yeah, the other part would be the parents, because I think Milton's parents, that was that was a good Milton's family, actually, because it was really the sister and the mom leading that discussion.
Mm-hmm. Milton's date with Lydia was interesting too. We can talk about that, I guess.
Go ahead.
Well, I think first you got to go to the
Sean,
parents.
It's with the parents. We wish Sean on the parents first. I'm just bringing up what we needed. Bullet points, people. Bullet points. Keep us on tape.
Okay.
So we want to go to where the parents then?
Off we go.
Looks like it. Put in the banner. Go for it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think Milton's mom, boy, she was cut and dry right to it. Reminded me a little of Zach's mom from Married at First Sight. You know, just very, very to the point. She seemed like she played no games. Got right to Lydia. I actually felt bad for Lydia on one hand. And then on the other hand, they kind of peeped some of it, because when the mom and sister were like, what do you want with my 24-year-old brother? And then the sister was like, you know, the answer seemed very rehearsed. I was like, ooh, they chopping her up. So I had Seaway and I were talking about it, and I was like, ooh, that the mom just, she didn't hold no punches. And you know, she was getting to the root of it. She warmed it up. But if I was Milton, I wouldn't have let them have that one-on-one, because in that one-on-one, and that, well, the 2-on-1 conversation, because even Milton had to tell his sister to just chill out. It was too much. So yeah, I think where Lydia really failed, and Seaway and I were talking about this the other day, is one thing I know about a Black mama is you can feel comfortable in the conversation, kind of talk about your truth, but don't get to cussing. When she got to cussing with the Black mama, I was like, ooh, no bueno. That was not a good look. Especially Milton's parents seem fairly conservative. And I know with my mom, that would have definitely not gone over well. So I just pray for her. If they're gonna make it, I don't know.
Yeah, the mum chopped her up, man. She really put him to the sword. I can't even lie to you. The mum and the sister seem like they run their relationships. Can't lie to you, because old girl sister too seemed like she running old boy her man as well. So I think it runs in the family. The woman seems to be very strong, and he did let her know that Milton did let her know, like, look, you know, chill a little bit. And in episode 9, he actually let us know as well that, you know what, I know you lot think you can tell me what to do and what you think I'm going to do because you think you can organize it, but I'm going to do what I'm going to do. He said, like, even if mom and dad said no, he said, I'll probably still do it. You know, so he's kind of having his little rebellion, doesn't want to do what they tell him to do, which I understand. You got to let your son or daughter at this age have free reins of their life. So I think Milton kind of showed a bit of a backbone there, even though I don't like the fact that he's trying to save her. You know, he showed a bit of a backbone by, you know, defending his choice. You know, but, you know, he let us know that they are unemotional in that aspect. So yeah, go for it, Jay.
No, because I think that's the perfect segue to where I was going to go from off of what Sean was saying. The mom is letting them have it, and the sister is, they both do seem like they have strong control over the households. And Milton is rebellion in his rebellion phase, and what he does is go find a woman with the same energy as the mom. Like, she might not be as stern and forward because, you know, of language barrier and all, but she has the same energy of telling him what to do. And in the pod, she says she's not going to be mothering him, but of course, we see that's the difference when they get out the pods, because every 5 seconds she's telling him about himself and what he doesn't do. Now, granted, he seems a little irresponsible when it comes to just being clean around the house and putting away his things. So that would regard somebody who's living with you as a roommate, period, to say, hey, can you pick up your stuff? Which in turn will seem like some mothering aspect. But then now you're going to start rebellion against your potential wife because of it. Because that's the phase you're in right now, of trying to gain your own ground, your own independence from everybody else that has been having control of your life. And now you're going to marry a woman who is seemingly about to have control of your life as well. Bad combination for the future. I just say, like, go find your independence, be independent for a while, learn to love you in that moment, in that space, so you can know how you can love somebody else and bring somebody else into your space. Like, I don't know. It's a lot when you start living with a person and you're married to a person and all that. It's a lot already there. So you don't want to complicate it more of trying to figure out you and where you really stand in life with that.
Yeah, I think Milton's family were going to clock whoever came in that house, because their biggest beef is with Milton, because Milton is childish and not ready to be married. And I don't think it matters who he brought in there. But I will say that Lydia gives the cuckoo vibes real quick. I think people who are discerning are going to figure that out. And they kind of indicated that the mom is kind of FBI agent-like. So I think the mom clocked that Lydia was a little touched by an angel as well. So you have the combination of the fact that I know my son doesn't need to be getting married. I know that he's already kind of mature. We make a lot of his decisions, and now he's trying to get married. Like, that's some BS. Like, this is not going to end well. And then the person he brought is not even the best either. So I think that was kind of that. But I will say the kind of way that Lydia talks to Milton about his stuff and picking up stuff or whatever, I'm like, these are the type of people who get married to these men and then complain that their husbands are children. If you have an issue with everything that he's doing as far as like basic household chores and stuff like that, I know it may sound extreme, but that's a big compatibility issue. Like, that's something that's really going to get on your nerves. So I just can't imagine being with a person that I don't feel like they have proper protocol for like living around the house, and I'm just going to marry him just to complain every day. Nobody wants to hear that. So I don't know. His family got a point.
Indeedy, you internalize. Anyone else want to add for the family situation?
I wonder if he would really, I know he's trying to say that I would still do it, even if y'all don't show up or whatnot, to make them feel like, oh, let me show up. But I wonder if he really would do it.
Cap. I'm
Right.
listening to Milton. Milton got a lot of cap to him. That's what I'm starting to notice about him.
That's what I was thinking too. I was like, I don't think you'll really do it if your parents don't show up. You really, because everything, when you listen to Milton, mostly, even with his sister too, mostly everything is mom. My mom says this, my mom this, my mom that. So mom has a very, she's Mama Norwood. That's how I look at her. Brandy's mama, Brandy and Ray J mama, that's definitely, everything is ran through her.
And he has a lot of respect for them. And I think he knows at the end of the day, regardless if he feels like, I wish y'all were more emotional, or I wish you guys were more like maybe kind or sensitive, he knows that one, they really are looking out for him at all times. And two, that they have a lot of common sense and they can see stuff coming. I can tell that about him. Exactly. He respects and listens to his mother. And although he won't indicate that to his sister, he hears what his sister is saying.
Yeah.
He knows. So I don't think this is going to end well either, because the whole situation is giving Cap.
I think this is just his way of fighting for his independence from them, even though they don't believe it. Because Sis kept saying this is all fake. This is fake. Sis is not fought for any of it. She's like, I see what it is. You just trying to fight for your independence right now, and you're going about it the most childish way ever.
Any addition, Sean?
There was something else that I was thinking about. Oh man, it just jumped out of my head. But I do think that it seems like he's mature in some aspects, but very immature in others. And one thing that stood out to me, that the parents, when Lydia was complaining, I guess, about how he likes to, he just leaves his stuff around, and she wakes up mad about it. It's like, Jesus Christ. It's like, come on. Like, there's just certain things y'all just have to be able to talk through. But he does seem to be a little bit immature in the sense that he just thinks he could just brush off everything and it's going to be all right. And okay, maybe I left the dishes in the sink for a couple of days. It's like, bro, you're not in a frat house anymore. And he constantly talks about how mature he is, but I think his age does start to show, because that is stuff that you do in your 20s. And Lydia has to really be realistic that that's just stuff that comes along with the chorus. But when the mom was like, is this something you're going to be able to deal with? It's like, technically she shouldn't have to deal with that. Because but she also needs to understand that when you're dating somebody and now going into a marriage with somebody that's in their 20s, if that's not in their personality right now, chances are he's going to do a little bit, but that's just who he happens to be at this moment. So take it or leave it. But I do think that it's going to continue to come up. And one thing, that's what it was. The one thing that brought out, this is probably why he has some of this repressed emotion, because when he was talking to his sister, he mentioned the fact that they're not very emotional, right? They don't show love in an outward way. And I think as much as Lydia has some of the domineering aspects maybe that his mom might have, she has that I love you, I love you, I love you, and all that affection that he probably didn't get in that particular way from his mom, because she's very practical, she's very analytical, she's logical. So I think that's maybe the unhealed part of him that is attracted and keeps running towards Lydia for that reason.
Amen.
Let the church say amen. Good roundup. Any other thoughts to Milton and Lydia? They had a conversation at the very end of dinner. They had a conversation about that. They were talking, and he let her know that she dealt with things incorrectly, according to him, and she took offense to it. So I want to get you guys' thoughts on Lydia and Milton, their final dinner.
I'll say, I'll go back to Sean's point in previous episodes where he just kept saying they keep taking little jabs at each other and it's only going to get worse. Well, it's getting worse, because we keep taking those cute little funny jabs that we think are cute and funny, but they're really attacks on the person. And so now when we have to have the serious conversations on how I feel that you may not handle the situation correctly or incorrectly, this, that, and the third, how I feel and how I perceive it, when we start having these conversations or whatnot, the person is not able to receive it because we play in the wrong way too much. And I get where Milton was coming from, it was almost a softer version of Uche and Aaliyah, because now you are judging her when she's telling you about cleaning up after yourself. That's just something that is a correcting thing about, living with somebody else. That's totally different from telling a person on how they should have handled a situation with somebody that they were emotionally connected to. And that's something that he needs to learn because he doesn't have the emotions or the experience in those type of areas. You know, yes, she could have handled it better. She could have walked away. But sometimes when we are emotionally tied to people, we don't make the best decisions in the moment. And so to try to continuously correct somebody about an old past situation is like kind of pointless. Just highlight it and say, hey, you know what? In that regards, I was a little bit uncomfortable the way you guys handle it. You know, moving forward, you think we can do this that way or this way? But to make her feel like that's a character flaw of hers, and then put her on the defense of this is me, this is always me, which I don't agree. Like, sis, you're gonna have to fix parts of you too. But you put her on the defense of now she has to sit there and say, this is me, this is how I've been, this has got me this far. Because you go and tell the girl, well, look how that got you, how far that got you. That's kind of an insult, you know what I'm saying? Relationship wise, it'd be like, look what your attitude got you. It got me you. So I don't know where we're going with this. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you want to be petty, we could be petty. However, she's super emotional, so she's taking big offense of it. In Lydia's case, sis, you gotta bring in the emotions where he doesn't have enough. You have to reel it in. You have to get some level of his calmness in you, so you could be able to hear a person for what they're actually saying. He's saying that the situation that you had made him feel uncomfortable. Not necessarily, well, he could be meaning that it was wrong in a case. I don't really know. But part of me wants to believe that he actually meant it in, I felt uncomfortable by the situation because now you're arguing with the man, which puts me in a position to have to figure out how I'm going to defend you. That's a position that a lot of men don't really want to be in. So am I going to have to deal with this more often? If this is going to be a problem every time we go out and you run into somebody that you used to deal with, you're going to blow up, or we're going to potentially be in something that we might go to jail. Like, it's a lot that comes into that. So she's going to have to learn how to control her temper in situations that are high anxiety, not favorable for her, dealing with exes or anything else above, even dealing with him. If they continue, she's going to have to learn how to control her emotions to be able to have a calm, rational conversation. I see her trying with him in this moment because she walked away to gather herself and then came back and sat down. But then she got petty all over again and started apologizing, talking about, well, I'm sorry that I can't be the person that you want me to be. And then he got petty too, talking about, well, I apologize if I hurt your feelings. Like, you hurt her feelings, bro. She told you her feelings was hurt. So both y'all need to learn how to apologize to one another as well. I'll say one thing, last thing though. Uche was not letting this, Milton was not letting this conversation stop him from eating that food, okay? I don't know if he was waiting all day to eat, but baby was tearing up that plate. He even paused while she went away, stop eating and wait till she came back to continue eating in her face. I said, he petty as hell. That's it. That's all I got right now.
Who's next? Sean, you go for it.
Yeah, I'll go. Yeah, I think a couple of different things about the conversation that they had at the date. I think that Lydia brought up some valid things that do need to be addressed. And if it's stuff that bothers her, and some people are like that, right? They like order, and they're very specific about the way that they like things. Some people can tolerate it more, some people can tolerate it less. She seems to be less tolerant of it. So I think it's a worthy discussion to have. However, what concerned me is that, I mentioned it a little earlier, is like she just wakes up mad. Now, that is scary, because if you're just waking up on angry from something that happened the day before, and it's little, it's bad habits, because it's just a bad habit, right? And a lot of guys, we could be like that, but it takes you a while. Like, when I got married, that was my first time living with somebody, and it's different when you're dating and maybe you have your girlfriend, she comes over on the weekend, or you guys hang out a couple of days, you're typically on your best behavior in those situations. So you don't get that full range of how it is to like live with somebody full term. So I'm sure this is his first instance with living with his girlfriend. He has a roommate, but they're two guys and they kind of just navigate however the heck they want to navigate. It's different. So I think this is stuff that he's going to have to learn. And if she wants to be in a relationship with somebody who's 24, it's just going to be par for the course. And you can't be waking up angry, because it's like, what happens when we have a big argument? Are you going to react that way with everything? I want to preface it by saying I think Milton had 100% valid points about the way Lydia addressed the issues with Uche, and how she gave Uche too much energy and how she could have handled the situation better. I think his advice to her was solid. I think that he handled it calmly. He just nailed it. What I think is wrong, and I'm guilty of it too, it's like when we're having a discussion about something, and Lydia was, from what we saw, having the discussion first about an issue that she had. Let's just stick to the one issue. Don't navigate off. And now I'm going to say, well, now let me tell you what bothers me, because that it's like we're going back and forth. We need, as a couple, when you're dealing with one issue, I personally think you need to deal with one issue at a time, because when you start saying, well, now let me air my grievances, it kind of almost takes away from what that person was trying to address with you. And I know sometimes it's like you just want to get it all out, but I think like it almost becomes like now you want to deflect, or you don't want to sit in the space that you've been addressed. Now you want to say, okay, now since you addressed me, now let me address you. And I don't think we get anywhere, and we don't resolve conflict in a good way when you kind of do that back and forth in the same conversation, right? Or if you want to do it, you can ask the person like, hey, listen, I know we were talking about me. I'm going to commit to doing X. Is it okay? Is it cool? We can kind of talk about, an issue that I had, or some feedback that I have for you, so that the person is prepared and they can make a choice to either have the conversation or not. But when you go right into it, you're probably not going to have the best outcome, and she's not going to be able to receive the good advice that he was trying to give her.
Facts.
Appreciate that, Sean. Any other thoughts, guys? Because me, I'm falling asleep. I ain't gonna lie to you. Let me not lie to you guys. I was going strong, but the last 10 minutes, I've been hit.
I don't know. We haven't even heard from Seaway. I think she might be with you.
I mean, I am sleepy. I really don't need to add on this. I'm sure once we see the end of the episode, we'll have a fantastic conclusion. I mean, because I can't really relate to. I mean, only person I've seen wake up mad over cleanliness is my abuela. Like, she does not play. If she wakes up and she see dishes or something in the sink, because she believes the rest of the family ain't got no order. So some people are very particular about that. I just can't relate to that. But I mean, there is a section of society that if they wake up to some non-clean stuff, they're gonna be pissed for the rest of the day.
Well, part of it I get where she coming from a little bit, because it's like in the pod you said you were clean. We had this conversation. You said you were clean. When you get here, I've told you about it several times. And now I'm tired of talking to you because I'm trying to tell you I'm not trying to be your mom. So I don't want to keep telling you stuff. So now she's just waking up mad. But that's also another thing that she's going to have to deal with, because you can't just be waking up. Yeah, you can't just be waking up mad and not saying nothing.
And when she ran out the pods the first time saying she shouldn't date a 24-year-old, she should have stuck with that. But instead, she got that pick me in her too. Right. So now she wanted to be picked so bad. She got a 24-year-old. So I really don't care.
Now she babysitting.
Her, Izzy, all this pick me, Izzy being a pick me, freaking look, everybody. I'm over it. I'm with Culture. I'm sleepy.
See where you gonna pick me us to death. Good Lord. How you find to pick me at every show, every person?
Shot, I was telling my sister earlier how Seaway gonna call somebody a pick me here or there. My sister thought I said pick me. She was like, the picnic? I said, no, not the picnic. She said,
No, not that. Look, cause they be on every show, and I be trying not to say it. I done spared a few people recently.
not they be on every show. I know you spared Quentin the other night. I tried to get you to go over there, but you didn't want to go.
Where was he? I didn't even see him.
When I told you the pick-me's of it all over there on Ready to Love, you didn't want to talk about Quentin being a pick-me.
Oh, I don't think Quentin's a pick-me. Quentin is just special. Definitely not a pick-me. He got something else to him. So yeah, a lot going on.
That's shocking.
Y'all
listen.
gonna definitely wreak havoc.
Let Sean give us a
It's people going. It's provocative.
I feel like I was just about I'm so off today. This migraine has me in a shambles. There was something else, but I guess it's not important.
It'll all get wrapped up when both of these folks say no, then we can really discuss, because that's all that's gonna happen.
You said something about what happens at the end of the episode. Do you mean the end of the show, the end of the season, or was there something that?
No, I'm saying when next Friday, when they wrap this up and both of these folks say no, I'm saying we can come back and have a more full.
You're gonna be surprised. You're gonna be surprised because both of them don't say no. They don't.
Well, let me tell you, I will put money up. I'll bet y'all $5 for sure. That's all I'm betting. $5 that Stacey gonna say no. I don't know about everybody else. Now, if Milton say yes, I will be surprised, and I'll bet another.
You still owe me money from the last bet we bet.
Which one I lose?
Which one I lose with
What
Nigga, you should know.
The day I told you about it. I told you, and you in the bet too. We'll talk about it backstage. It's not related to this show.
Oh, I don't even remember.
That's the one I lose to me.
Because I would pay up if I lose. I don't remember.
You can pay up in Jamaica. You can buy me a drink from the inclusive bar.
There you go. I'll pay your tip.
Bang bang.
The tip is included, but she got you.
That's the only way to get
16 more days.
Woo! I just get out my head.
2 more weeks.
Flight, so hey.
Yo, I need to stop eating though, because I can't fit into my hoochie daddy trunks.
Trust me, baby.
You and Sean, I'm gonna be on the run from everybody. I done called Chris Petty and Sassy. I'm gonna be on
Don't revisit it, please, Celia. Just let it be. Hopefully, he didn't see the comments. Let's just.
Well, let's let Sean.
Oh, he's seen.
Let's let Sean do what he do. Let's let Sean do what he do best. Sean, give us a benediction before I fall asleep. Yeah.
All right. Listen, guys, pray my strength in the Lord, because this benediction it's gonna be a rough one. But listen, I think what we did learn is we do need to seek the advice of our elders, but we also need to be able to make decisions as grown adults that are sound. We do need to heal from any childhood wounds we have before we go into relationships, because those wounds run deep, whether those wounds are based on, financial, whether they're based on love and emotion. We need to make sure that we heal from those wounds so that we can definitely, move forward and have healthy relationships. Love is not blind. I don't care what nobody tells you. Love has eyes, and those eyes need to see not just your beauty, but need to see your character. And those eyes need to see that you can be honest, even with the things that are most vulnerable to you, because that's the only way you'll be able to truly love somebody, is when you are vulnerable and honest. Back to you, Coach.
Thank you very much, Sean. I appreciate that. Listen, audience members, it's been amazing. It's been great. We've put on some great content for you guys. I've had almost 4.5 hours of great content, one from Ready to Love and obviously here for Love is Blind. So we'll be back, I guess at the end of the week when the final episode drops before the reunion. If they're going to do one, I don't know. But yeah, we'll be back again with another panel. I'll be definitely back tomorrow or today, even, how do you want to call it, to do a live on Aaliyah. So I'll try and drop a little live on there. But it's been good. It's been fun. And we shared off some different points of view. and you know, y'all brought your A game to the table. I wish we could have stayed a little bit longer, but my tiredness done sent me to the gulag. So listen, like, share, subscribe, click on the bell button for notification uploads. We appreciate y'all. Stay locked and stay loaded. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. And don't forget, Man at First Sight's coming back soon. I don't know when exactly the date is, so we'll be back on our Thursday nights as well. So shout out to y'all guys. But tomorrow we got Quinton, and then following after that, got Kat, and then we got Lee straight after as well, and then Aries on the Friday. So the whole week we got episodes, we got interviews after interviews after interviews. So stay locked and loaded for those as well. Much love, much appreciation, and we'll see you again tomorrow. But let me leave you with a clip, because the clip is very important. Okay, guys? Let me do the clip.
Mike, I'm leaving here with something.